Hi, welcome back. So this week we're going to be making a 12th century cautery iron. For those of you not well versed in medieval medicine, cautery iron is used for a kind of form of medieval acupuncture, but with more fire. So the idea is that they heat up one end of it and then you place it on various points on the body, and they believe that this had various healing properties. So, on to the forging. So the first thing that we're going to do is isolate the head of the cautery iron. We're doing this by taking it over the edge of the anvil at a slight angle and hitting straight down. This allows us to form a reverse taper and isolate the material that we'll need for the end of the iron. I tried doing this by hand over the face of the anvil as it would have been done in the 12th century. However, I soon got bored and used my 21st century replacement for a striker and took it over to the power hammer. In my left hand here I have an 8mm round bar that I'm using as a kiss block. This ensures that even if I hit it way too hard with the power hammer or I'm momentarily distracted by something, I'm not going to completely ruin my work by drawing it down too thin. After I'm finished forging on the power hammer, I like to bring it back to the face of the anvil just to tidy up the work and make sure it's completely consistent. From here I'm going to round off the shaft of the cautery iron. All of the examples that I've seen have round shafts rather than square. I tend to do this in sections, so first I'll take the corners off and take it down to an octagon. From there I'll take those corners off and turn it into a 16 facegon, as Rowan Taylor calls it. Then I will do this in sections and finish off rounding the shaft. After this I can then cut it to the desired length. After I've cut it, I bring it back onto the anvil. I put the head over the corner and strike horizontally in order to square it up so that we get a nice 90-degree transition between the shaft and the head. This also allows me to draw it out so I get a bit more horizontal length. You'll notice I then take that back onto the flat of the anvil and use the cross peen to continue drawing it out to further this effect. The specific cautery iron I'm trying to replicate here actually has a slight curve on the end of the head. The reason for this I'm not 100% sure, however I would theorise that it could be for matching the curvature of, say, a finger or a limb when you're trying to cauterise it. Whatever the reason, I had some fun trying to forge it, so my first effort was to try and use the horn of the anvil. However, I noticed this kept skipping around a lot and I couldn't quite manage to keep a consistent curve on it. So next I thought, well okay, I can jam it in the vise and then I can hammer down a piece of round onto the top of it. This would have been okay, except the fact that the vise didn't have a good enough grip, so I ended up just pushing the cautery iron down through the vise. So then I decided to invert my idea. I placed the piece of steel in the vise and then hammered the cautery iron down on this. I realised at this point that the round was the wrong size, so then I came back to the anvil horn and then did it on there again. So I think if you're going to be replicating this at home, just start on the anvil horn and finish on the anvil horn, and don't screw around with doing it on the vise. The final step here is just to put the taper on the other end, to true up the shaft to make sure it's all nice and straight, and then finally to give it a nice wire brush to try and give it a nice scale-free finish, such as you'd want if you were using this in some kind of medical setting. And there you have it, a finished cautery iron. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, it's greatly appreciated. And also a massive thank you to my small number of patrons that pay for my bus pass to the forge every week. Thank you!